Anybody else have a question?
Yeah. Why do none of the Gospels ever talk about Jesus' childhood? I've been asked that several times. And
yeah, because I would say, and feel free to chime in. I would say that the Gospels are not biographies, and I think once you understand that, I had a student. I made sort of an offhand remark in class one time. I had a student actually take me up on it. I was talking about the fact that, which is rare because they usually don't listen to me at all. I was talking about the fact that what you have in the Gospels are summaries. There's a lot of distilled information in there. And I said, I can prove it. Go home tonight and get out your stopwatch and you got a red letter edition of the Bible where all the words of Jesus are in red, and read all of the red words, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and tell me how long it takes you. And they came back with various reports, 35 minutes, 25 minutes, 18 minutes. And I asked them, do you think Jesus probably said more than 18 minutes worth of material in the 3 years that he was preaching? The Sermon on the Mount, which is like the grand sermon, you can read it in about 6 minutes. You'd think, I wish my preacher would deliver his sermon in 6 minutes. No, the Gospels are not biographies. They're not verbatim. They are Gospels. They are the delivery of the good news that Jesus is Lord. And so, when you say, why is his childhood missing? My guess is the vast majority of his 33 years are missing. And so what is there, though? Supernatural birth, right? Connecting him to Messiah of the Old Testament and all those sorts of things. And then the beginning of his ministry. But even with his ministry, you're just getting the major components of his teaching. Because the purpose of the Gospels are not to give you a blow-by-blow account of the life of Jesus. It is to demonstrate, as John says, so that you might believe that Jesus is the Christ and believe that you might have life in his name. And by the way, the same is true of the book of Acts. Have you read the book of Acts recently? Luke will say, and then Paul went to this place, and he has a conversation, and you get the whole conversation in 2 chapters, and then in the next chapter he says, and then we went from here to here, and from here to here, and from here to here, and you look on your map and you figure out that's a journey of 8 months. And he gets it to you in just a couple of sentences. Because he's not trying to give you a blow-by-blow account of everything that they did. He is trying to show you that the gospel has gone to the Gentiles by demonstrating that the gospel has gone from Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, and then to the othermost parts of the earth. So, I think that's the answer. I think the answer is the gospel writers were not concerned with Jesus' childhood because it is not the purpose for which they wrote.
Yeah, I can't really think that's exactly what's going on there. I think, and you see that in all of them, really, like John's Gospel, for example. You start off with the prologue, where you're told in the first 3 verses that he's God. And then you have, for the rest of the book, really sort of him fleshing out those 18 verses there. Look, here's this divine figure. Let me show it to you with all these miraculous things that he does. And it culminates. Each one builds upon the next, culminating, ultimately in the resurrection of Jesus. But even in John chapter 11, the resurrection of Lazarus, Matthew's gospel, even, there's this build-up to the confession Peter makes in Matthew chapter 16. I say that you are the Christ, Son of the living God, And that's been a point that Matthew's trying to get you to as the reader from the very opening. Even as you go through the genealogies there, and you're thinking to yourself in your devotions, okay, let's just skip that part. It's actually quite important. He's, letting you know that he's of the seed of Abraham and of David, and then the miracles and the teachings and the fulfilled prophecies, and then Peter's great confession. So that's what they're doing. They're trying to show you, look, he's the Son of God, or look, he is God, or something like that.
In fact, to reinforce this, and not all scholars agree on this, but I think it's actually pretty clear. If you've ever tried to harmonize John's Gospel, the account of the account of Jesus' ministry, with the other Gospels, it's really hard to do. And you know why? Because John's not even giving. I don't even think John's giving you the events in chronological order. I think he sets out pretty clear to say what he's going to do. He's giving you these signs, these 7 signs, and they're in order. They seem obviously to me to be in order from least spectacular to most spectacular. Because John's not, his job is not to tell you, and then what Jesus did on in the 3rd quarter of 2010. That's not his point. His point is to show turning water into wine all the way to raising Lazarus from the dead. And so I think that they're not biographies. They're Gospels. And in fact, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Christians didn't invent the genre of gospel. The Romans actually did. It was very common for a conquering king or a Caesar, when returning home, would be to send an emissary out with the good news, the euangelion, which is, Caesar has conquered, Caesar has defeated his enemies, we won the war, and they would send out these people to proclaim that Caesar is Lord. And in fact, Jesus himself is using that language, and the gospel writers are repeating that language, that what you have is this declaration that Jesus is Lord. By the way, that little play on words there got a whole bunch of Christians killed, because that's how you show, that's standing up when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Putting your hand on your heart, taking your hat off. Well, what they would do is they would burn a little bit of incense, and they would declare Caesar as Lord. And that was the way you showed that you were a good Roman citizen, but the Christians wouldn't do it. In fact, they picked up on that little pattern. Instead of saying Jesus is Lord, or Caesar is Lord, their mantra was Jesus is Lord.